Howdy folks, welcome to Grumpy Disembodied Hands. It's absolutely pasting down outside today, so I thought I would do some of my other favourite things aside from being on the bike, which is having a delightful cup of tea and giving out about things. Right, so I've had a number of pairs of gloves over the years. Some I've liked and some I've liked initially but then disliked and various things. So I'll talk about the various pairs of gloves I've had and whether or not they work for me. First up, the Knox Handroids. So you might recognise these. A bunch of bikers I know have these. They were very talked up. I think a lot of the UK biker magazines sort of said that they were the best thing since sliced bread. They're a good pair of gloves, but the initial sort of soundbite for me is they're a good pair of gloves, but they're not worth the money. There's better gloves out there. There's better gloves on the market for a number of reasons. The basics of them is you have a pair of gloves. It's got all that mad Predator shit on the back, and it has the normal fastener here, and then it has the twisty thing that sort of tightens a pair of wires that are here. That's all fine and well and good. It has good protection here. There's two protectors here, which is unusual for a pair of gloves. These, I don't know how fucking gimmicky these are, or whether these will just fucking strip off first thing if you come off a bike. This is just for fucking show, as far as I can tell. Like, whatever. I mean, they're a good pair of gloves. You can get ones with the big gauntlet on them. I got the ones with the smaller one for going under the jacket, and that's great. I've had these about 2 years. Lots of good about them, bad about them. As you can see there, they've sort of stained on the fingers. I'm not going to be too precious about that. It's it's a pair of motorbike gloves. They're supposed to sort of stain or discolour, once they actually work right. A couple of threads have come loose, but again, same deal. I'm not going to be giving out too much. The major thing that happened with these in the last 2 years for me is I got them wet a couple of times, as you do. You're in Ireland, you go out sometimes and the sun is beating down, and then you get pissed on 20 minutes later. And the leather on the inside of the gloves has started to sort of crack and become sort of uncomfortable and etc. And so if you look there, when I bend my fingers, which you do when you're riding a bike, the leather kind of bunches up, and it bunches up into the insides of your fingers, and if you're up on a bike for a couple of hours, that gets pretty uncomfortable. And I've actually gotten off the bike after wearing these for 3 or 4 hours, and like my fingers are red and sort of inflamed and scraped. I'll survive. It's just a case of like, gloves shouldn't really do that, especially if you're going to pay 150 brick for a pair of gloves, and a year or so later, or not even a year later, they kind of become gloves you don't want to wear anymore. Again, Knox, fine pair of gloves, Knox Handroids, but there's better gloves out there. Second pair, and we're still on Knox. This is the Knox 02 Outdry. These are sort of winter gloves that Knox do. Knox do a number of pairs of winter gloves, but these are the ones I picked up. I have a previous video on them. Good things about these gloves, they are obscenely comfortable. They're just like, yeah. Every time I put these gloves on, it's just like, oh, these are nice. As in, like, even of non-motorbike gloves, these are the most comfortable gloves. They're warm, they're soft inside, they've never let the moisture in. They're just good. Bad things about this, and some of this is particularly bad. Bad thing is there's a load of dust all over them. Is the wiper for wiping your visor. That's the entire wiper on the glove, and it's on the back of the thumb. I'm used to it being like here, and there's only one on the left hand. There's none on the right hand. And that kind of fucks me off a bit, because again, it's one of the major functions of a winter glove is that you have a wiper and it's usable and it's there, and sometimes you just don't have your left thumb free, so that's not great. And the other thing for me is this zip is fucking useless, right? You can't zip this because this is so floppy, and so you can only really unzip it if you have the glove taken off, and then when you put it back on, you can just sort of reef it up. Use some sort of other kind of fastener, or just realize that if this is sort of floppy around enough, then putting a zip here is kind of pointless. The other thing, which might be specific to me, is just with big, soft, comfortable winter gloves like these, I feel like I'm less confident on the bike. I feel like I have less control over what's happening. I'll get on to summer gloves and why I prefer using summer gloves year round if possible. But I have these on and I have them on the bars and I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm connected as much to the bike because they're big, ignorant winter gloves. Maybe this is just a winter glove thing and everyone gets that and everyone aside from me sucks it up. That's just one of the things with these gloves, is that there's too much to them. And I don't enjoy, unless it's super, super cold, I don't enjoy using these. Okay, third pair, and here's my boring glove story, so get settled in. These are the Revit Cayenne Pro. I didn't plan on buying these. I was actually over in the States a few years ago. I went into a bike shop in California and they had all summer stuff. So they had like mesh jackets and other shit that you really wouldn't be able to sell here. And these were there as a sort of a set of summer gloves, right? And they were... I tried on a lot of gloves and I think there's really no substitute for trying on gloves, and so I stuck on, it must have been a dozen pairs of gloves, like summer style ones, and these ones, the minute I put them on, I was like, oh, hang on, these actually fit me perfectly. So they're kangaroo leather, I think, and you stick them on like that and you put this across and there you go. There's not as much protection as the Knox gloves, obviously. They're summer gloves. They have the big knuckles on the back. They have the protector here, which is like when you stick your hand out, that's the first thing to contact, and so that'll save you a bit. There's little sort of things on the back of the knuckles. They're not going to do much, I don't think. They're on the outside of the little finger, which I think is a nice little touch. And this strap here, it doesn't work so well anymore because they're old. It's part of the tightening mechanism, so they're good and tight on. They're not going anywhere. One thing about these gloves that I don't see with a lot of gloves, that like if I go into a shop in Dublin or elsewhere and there's a load of gloves hanging up and I go to see if gloves fit, you put down a pair of gloves and it's like that. People don't walk around with their hands like this, which is what a lot of gloves are shaped like. Gloves, when you sort of take them off and stick them down, should be in a sort of a loose grip, because that's the most comfortable way it is. And I see a lot of gloves in bike shops that are just like fingers straight out like that, and I'm like, why the fuck is that? There's no reason for it. It has to fit where the position that the glove is going to be in for 99% of the time that you're using it. And so if I refer back to the Knox Handroid for a second, like that's fairly straight fingers, right? And so the reason why they're bunching up is because there's too much material on the inside. Whereas if you look at these ones, they're a lot more bent over, and when you put them on, you're like this. So anyway, rant over. These gloves are pretty sweet. They've some nice little touches. They have a little reflective strip on the outside, just in case somebody spots that and not anything else about your bike. Things that have happened to them thus far, I've had these for a solid 2 years and they've been my daily glove for most of that time. One of the things is where this strap comes through here, there's a metal yoke and it's actually come off this side. So that's a bit fiddly, but again, doesn't really do much. And the other bit is the stitching has come off a little bit here. Which is obviously not great, but again, in terms of comfort and overall durability, like these are summer gloves, but they're not by any means cold gloves, if you know what I mean. Like I've got heated grips and I wear these all the time, and I just turn up the heated grips and they're not flimsy, they're not shitty gloves. They're sufficiently so that when I saw that this stitching had come out, I said, okay, let's see if I can find another pair, and I found another pair. So they're a different colour, but noticing with my second pair, I'm able to put them on and they feel exactly like the old pair. There's no breaking in them at all. They're perfect from day one. You're able to tighten them up quite a bit, and they're just a good solid pair of gloves. They do not cost 150 quid. I don't have off the top of my head, but it's like sub 100 quid pair of gloves. You're making a compromise with any bit of safety equipment that you use, in that, like, if you're going to ask me, like, between these two, which of these two would I rather have on if I knew I was going to come off the bike, I'd have these on, right, all day long. For day-to-day commuting in and out, I don't have a long commute now. I'm not on motorways. It's not so much of a big deal. I'm not at high speeds. These are perfect. Only thing is, they're not waterproof. They have the mesh along the side. But again, I then looked into whether Revit had like a pair of gloves like these, except wintry ones, and they did. So last ones, these are the Revit Hydro H2o, which is one of Revit's winter gloves, or foul weather gloves. These are comfortable. They're not as comfortable as the Outdrys. They are soft inside rather than sort of leathery soft inside. They're like clothy soft. I haven't had them out in the pissings of rain yet, but so take what I say with a grain of salt, given what I sort of said at the start of the video, is that like all gloves are great when you've just bought them, because you've just bought them and you don't want to say, I bought some shitty gloves today. These are good. They have the sort of tightening thing in here, which is good and tight against your skin. They have the protection here, which is actually under cloth, which is pretty snazzy. There's no plastic protector here or TPU protector here. It's just like an extra thick leather protector, so there's less protection even than the these things here. Another one here, which you can't really see on the camera maybe, but it's extra thick here. So whereas with these other gloves, that's plastic, that's plastic. There's a bit more to them. The other thing I really like about these is the wiper. That whole section there is all wiper, baby. It's not a sticky out sort of a rubber vein, it's just a rubberized still cloth, but kind of rubbery section of cloth, so you can just stick up your hand and go whoop, and you get a decent wipe out of them. Alright, there you go. There's a big pile of gloves. Hopefully the video is useful and you can learn something from it. I don't need a big pile of gloves like this, but I'm a stupid bastard and like to buy things. So hope you enjoyed and you find a pair of gloves that works for you and that fits you. A pair of gloves needs to fit you in particular, and there's a big difference between a pair of gloves going onto your hands and a pair of gloves actually fitting you. And so if you get the opportunity, go into a local bike shop, a large local bike shop, and just try on all of the gloves. And even if you find a set that goes on and seems to be okay, keep on trying them on, and find the biggest range that you can, and find ones that give you that feeling when you put them on of like, no, these are the ones, these are grand, So anyway, good luck in your wonderful search. Hope you do a bit better than I did. I got there eventually. All right, I'm going to go inside and finish off my tea while looking outside, looking sad at the rain. Good luck.